Okay, so I'm sure every furry has gotten this question before. Are you a furry? And the answer is either yes or no. But for furry artists, it's definitely a harder question to answer, as furry art is definitely how many people got introduced to furries. Some furry animators and artists on YouTube, and mostly just on social media, get asked this, they go with the answer no, they don't like the idea of being a furry, they don't even like being called one. And I share this opinion with them as I am not a furry. I'm only a furry artist. But this can definitely raise some eyebrows to people who literally have this logic that if you have a persona, you're a furry, which isn't really wrong. Because the same people have even confessed later in life that yes, they have turned to being a furry. So maybe all these artists denying they're furries, maybe including me, are just in denial. You know, I've never really liked the idea of being called a furry. I do enjoy the concept of furries to the point I draw them, and maybe one day I'll get a fursuit of my own character. And that's how deep my furry life goes. Permissions open. That's it. I don't really see myself as a furry in any other way, and a lot of furry artists feel this way too, maybe minus the wanting the fursuit part. If that's what they want to enjoy and don't want to be related to the fandom in any other way, then that's just how it is, and they have good points. But there are some people who push it onto furry artists, and majority of these artists really do not like that. I've been called a furry many times and I'm just not. I have my reasons, and there's many more reasons to why these artists just don't want to be related to being a furry at all. Because from what I've experienced in the furry fandom, it's very controversial to say the least. The fandom has a pretty bad reputation to the point that a good number of furry artists have separated their name from the fandom, and this doesn't apply to just artists as well. Furries will still have their eyes on you if you're talented enough, big enough, or even have a cute fursuit/persona. I've always hated that concept of getting popular simply because you have a cool fursuit/persona design. For my personal experience, before I even knew what a furry was, I did draw other things. Humans, anime, Pokemon. I did draw those, but by the time I knew what a furry was, let's say I was a bit of a weirdo. But I had character development. Come to think of it, I don't even know how I actually knew what a furry was. I would make a bet right now and say a lot of the furry artists had a phase where they drew a lot of Pokemon, a lot of FNAF, a lot of Undertale. Yeah, that's me. Because before knowing what the fandom was, I was in other fandoms that had a lot of anthro characters that I found cute or cool. The very first fandom I introduced myself was Pokemon. And I will say this again, I said it 15-20 seconds ago, I'm very sure every furry artist had a Pokemon phase or some sort of interest in Pokemon. During that Pokemon era of my life, I was really obsessed with his design a lot, so I just drew him. A lot. But after that, I went to FNAF. Foxy was really the main focus. Then after this FNAF phase, I went to Undertale. And in this fandom, I really only drew Azrael. Goated game. Shout out to my friend who gifted it to me. There's more fandoms I drew in, but those were the three most prominent and popular ones that I stuck around in the most. And I drew all of these characters with the thought of, wow, these characters are so cool. It feels like they all have something in common, but I do know what type of character they are, they're pretty cute, and I really enjoyed them a lot. Literally all that time drawing these anthro characters, I still didn't know what a furry really was. And I still can't pinpoint the experience of when or how I knew what a furry was. It just happened one day and I have no recollection of it. The second I knew what the word furry was and the fact there was a dedicated fandom to it, I labeled myself as one immediately and shared it to my friends thinking it was a good idea, and that was a big, massive, fat, epic no. If I said that on Twitter where I didn't have any furry followers or had no idea what the furry fandom was, I would be executed. Anyways, when I self-labeled myself as a furry, that's when I started to draw furries more. I enjoyed the fact that what I was drawing had an actual genre to it, but growing up in that fandom, I started to dislike it a lot. Many furries I met were dramatic bastards, depressed fakers, the horny 24/7 freaks, and the not so cute woo types of furry. Wait, what? Yeah, there's archetypes in that fandom if you're curious. There was also so much drama there that I started to dislike the label furry. And that, my friends, is why I'm very sure many furry artists don't want to be called furries in the first place. They want nothing to do with that dramatic mixed group of weirdos. Same with me. I have that same opinion. So I just told myself officially, it's time to stop. And I did. But that didn't stop me from drawing furries, cause even with my feelings on the fandom, the two things I still like in that forbidden mess of a community are the suits and the art. And up to now, I still do enjoy one of those things, drawing furries. I can't say I enjoy fursuiting yet cause I don't have one, but I never really call myself a furry anymore because y'all are weird as hell. And the sad part is, in any fandom, it's totally fine to be a bit weird, but the furry fandom takes it a bit too far. They're a different kind of breed. Wait, no. I could talk about what the fandom was like in another video, but that's the main reason why furry artists hate being called furries. They definitely know the reputation of furries and want to be fully separated from that. They don't like furries, but like the concept of a furry, so they draw them. I feel like this video would make more sense if I instead labeled it as why furry artists hate being called furries. Wouldn't that make more sense? Back to the original question. Are you a furry if you're a furry artist? At this point, if you just want to be called a furry while drawing furries, then do so. Because I just remembered I read the script again. A furry is someone who has an interest in anthropomorphic animals, aka furries. And how do some furries do that? They draw furries, so that would make them a furry. It really just comes down to how you want to call yourself. The only reason you wouldn't is you don't like the fandom, and that's a good point because that's me. So maybe I really am in denial. Maybe I'm really furry in the deepest core of myself. My label is no, I'm not. Screw you. This video is definitely a bit more of a mess and I apologize for that, but considering that my last two videos fall more on my opinions that are a bit hot and spicy that you most likely don't hear a lot from other artists, I just wanted to make a funny little silly video. So the takeaway of this video is, no, I'm not a furry, I just enjoy the concept of one and I enjoy drawing that concept. Maybe I'm in denial, maybe I'm not. I'm most likely in denial. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, here's the time-lapse result.